Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 7th of October, 2014. The following is the Vedic astrology reading for Michael Phelps, based on the 30th of June, 1985, at 5:55 a.m. in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, as you know, Michael Phelps is the most decorated Olympian of all time. He holds 22 Olympic medals. The reason I'm doing his chart at this time is because he was once again arrested on September 30th for a DUI, driving under the influence. And this is the second time. The first time was 10 years ago in November 2004 when he was 19. So due to this arrest, the USA Swimming Organization suspended Michael Phelps for 6 months, and he won't be on next year's U.S. team at the World Championships. And he's just now entered a 6-week inpatient treatment program. So first let's explore why he's an Olympic champion, and then also why there are problems with the law and social intoxicants. Now, using Vedic astrology from India and the sidereal zodiac, which is 23 degrees earlier than the tropical zodiac used by Western astrologers, we see that in the first house he has the third sign ascending or rising at 16 degrees, Gemini. And he has Sun in the first house in Gemini and Mars in the first house in Gemini. This alone explains a lot. Sun is the king and power and leadership, and Mars is the athletic, courageous ability. And these two are close to the rising sign degree. So this makes him a royal athlete, Olympian athlete right here. Now I know in Western astrology his sun is in Cancer, but we're not using Western astrology. That's where the planets were 2,000 years ago. We don't use the tropical zodiac. We use the sidereal zodiac. So if you ask an astronomer on the date of his birth, the astronomer would say, no, Sun is not in Cancer. It's at 14 degrees, 53 minutes in Gemini. Now he has Mercury. By the way, he's also very tall. He's like 6'4", size 14 feet, I think. So he's a big man. It's the royal sun in the first house. That makes a person a king. And the Mars makes him a commander. So competition, warrior, Olympic warrior. Very powerful. And the rising sign is not an arbitrary number. There's 30 degrees possible. And I'm using the systems approach for interpreting horoscopes. And in this paradigm, we take the rising sign degree as most effective point of every house. And any planet within 5 degrees of the ascendant is very powerful, has an influence. If it's a benefic planet, it gives something favorable. If it's a malefic, it causes adverse effects. In this case, these are both benefics. Sun rules the third house of independence and self-expression and self-initiatives and enterprises and entrepreneurial activities, and it's in the first house because tremendous willpower and leadership capability. And Mars, the Multricone sign for Mars is Aries, which falls in the house of income and friendships and fulfillment of desires. So he started dreaming about being a professional swimmer when he was 7 years old. When he was 15, he was qualified for the Olympics, youngest ever, or at least in the 70 years. So Mars and Sun are great benefics, and they're in the first house. That gives a lot of power to this chart. Now Mercury rules the fourth house of parents and property and happiness at home. It's in the house of wealth and status and family life. Now his father, which is the sun, was a police officer, which is Mars. So Mercury in the second house gives Michael a great ability for communications. And it can bring some wealth and status through his mother and through property and parents. But his parents divorced when he was 9 years old, and that's because this second house is continuation of family life. And it's ruled by Moon, and Moon is in the 6th house, which is a Dustan Bhava, inauspicious house. Of these 12 houses, 9 are favorable, but the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house in every chart, these are called Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. Planets going into those houses become weak. And planets ruling those houses can, in some cases, cause adverse effects, but only if those houses contain what is known as a Multricone sign. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, or 11. So 1 is Aries, 4 is Cancer, 5 is Leo, 6 is Virgo, 7 is Libra, 9 is Sagittarius, 11 is Aquarius. And you'll notice there is no 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, or 11 in Michael Phelps' chart. This is Gemini rising. So the 6th, 8th, and 12th ruler for Gemini does not cause any trouble. But we see 3 planets in the 6th, 8th, and 12th. So Moon is weak because it's in the 6th house, and it's also weak because it's in Scorpio. This is the debilitation sign for the Moon. So Moon becomes utterly weak, and it rules the 2nd house of continuation of family life. So it causes discontinuation of family life as parents get divorced. This also causes some emotional disturbances. This is a weak Moon. Moon is our peace of mind. It's our emotional state. In fact, when he was young, he was diagnosed with ADHD. That's how he took up swimming. He had so much energy, the Sun and Mars in the 1st house. And yet there was this emotional disturbance right here. Moon debilitated, and in the 6th house of mental tension. So he could be wearing white clothing and a single pearl to strengthen the Moon. In the 3rd house he has the 5th sign, Leo, ruled by the Sun. And this is the house of independence and self-expression and entrepreneurial success, and it's extremely strong, close to the rising sign degree in the 1st house. It brings tremendous success through his own self-initiatives, his own self-efforts. 4th house is a 6th sign Virgo, ruled by Mercury. We talked about Mercury being well placed, but ruled by a badly placed debilitated Moon. A planet cannot give greater rewards, greater results, than the strength of its dispositor, its landlord. In this case, Moon is debilitated and badly placed. So when he strengthens Moon, it will strengthen Mercury. And this is not only our emotional state, but this is our analytical problem-solving capabilities. I think he's got some difficulty making decisions from time to time. In the 5th house, we have the 7th sign Libra. And this is the house of mind, education, and children. So Saturn retrograde at 28 degrees in the 5th house probably gives him some dark thinking. Now it can bring some good fortune because Saturn rules Aquarius. Its Multricone sign is Aquarius. It rules the 9th house of good fortune and is placed in the 5th house. But this Saturn is weak at 28 degrees. That's old age. And this Saturn is in Libra, ruled by Venus. And where has Venus gone? Into the other Dustan Bhava, the inauspicious house, the 12th house. So Venus is weak, and it's at 0 degrees. That's called infant state. Anything less than 5 degrees is infant state. An infant child cannot protect you, feed, clothe, shelter you. It's weak. So this Venus is weak at 0 degrees. It's weak because it's badly placed, and it's the landlord for Saturn. So when you have a weak Saturn, it causes trouble with impatience, worry, fears, phobias, and distrust of other people. and it can ultimately cause some trouble for his teeth, neck, back, spine, knees, joints, and ankles. So he could wear a blue sapphire gemstone and use a lot of dark blue colors to strengthen the Saturn. Doesn't matter what we find in a chart, it matters whether we fix what we find in a chart. And even though Sun and Mars are carrying the chart, that's it. Mercury's weak because the landlord is in the 6th house. Saturn is weak because the landlord is in the 12th house. And Moon, Jupiter, and Venus are weak because they're in Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. And Jupiter is in Capricorn, and that is Jupiter's debilitation sign. When Jupiter is weak, the person has trouble with morality. They live outside the norm of society. They do things their own way, and it can cause addictions. 8th house is the house of addictions. 12th house is the house of addictions as well. It's got 2 planets in the house of addictions. Venus rules the mind. He needs to strengthen Venus, and then he can strengthen Saturn. So he strengthens Venus by wearing a diamond gemstone. So diamond is good for Venus, then he wears the blue sapphire for Saturn. He wears a pearl for the Moon and a yellow sapphire for the Jupiter. See, Jupiter rules the 7th house of relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, and marriage. So Jupiter ruling marriage is in the 8th house of obstructions, delays, setbacks, and disappointments. Venus representing wife is in the house of losses. So this causes delay of marriage or loss of marriage or disappointments in marriage. This can also cause trouble with the liver, gallbladder, and the hips in old age. So he strengthens Jupiter with the yellow sapphire. The weak Venus causes trouble with sugar. It can cause trouble with kidneys, pancreas, and reproductive organs. So he should not take white sugar products. So in the 7th house, we have the 9th sign Sagittarius, ruled by a debilitated, badly placed Jupiter. This can also delay children. 9th house, we have the 11th sign Aquarius, ruled by Saturn. That's a good position. 9th lord in the 5th house. That's a good position. But it is an old age. Anything past 25 degrees is old age. Old persons mean well, but they no longer have the power to protect you. And it further becomes weak because the landlord is in the 12th house and in infant state, 0 degrees. No power to Venus, therefore no power to Saturn. And Saturn's patience and perseverance and humility. Now Ketu, the southern node of the Moon, is sitting here at 23 degrees. That's considered very good for spiritual insights, spiritual thinking, spiritual mind. So he should take up the practice of meditation. He can be a yogi with this. He can go deeply into meditation. That would be a good practice for him. 10th house, 12th sign Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. 10th house is the house of career. 11th house is the first sign Aries, ruled by Mars. So Mars rules the house of income and friendships and older siblings. He's got 2 older sisters. And they were also very athletic and swimmers as well. But it's this northern node of the Moon, Rahu, R-A-H-U, in the house of gains and income. Rahu, can, if it's well placed, can give tremendous material progress, material success. And he was making basically about $5 million per year in endorsements. I think he also got like $1 million bonus from the swimsuit maker Speedo at the time that he won the 8 gold medals at the 2008 Olympic Games. So he's made a lot of money. That's Rahu right here. But if he's not careful, he can go up in smoke too. Fortunately, this Rahu is ruled by a very strong Mars with the royal sun. That gives him royal gains, royal income, and royal friendships. I would advise that he has to be careful because Rahu in the house of friendships can bring some manipulative or deceptive friends into his life. But fortunately, Rahu and Ketu, which are always opposite each other, are not at 16 degrees. If they were, it would cause a disaster. If they were in 5 degrees, that would cause trouble. So that's up to about 21, and they're up to 23. So they're not causing any damage here. Now, Ketu does aspect Mars. Ketu aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. It's outside the 5-degree orb of Sun, but it's within 3 degrees of Mars. Well, Mars represents younger brothers, and Ketu is obstructions, delays, setbacks, disappointments. So it denies younger brothers from him. He has no younger brothers. So let's take a look at the current situation with these transits. This on the left-hand side is his chart at the time of birth. On the right-hand side is his chart where the planets are today. And here's his Dasha sequence here. You take the main period ruler. There's main periods. There's 9 main periods running from 6 years to 20 years. And within every main period there are 9 sub-periods, shorter duration. So back in March 2009, he went into 20 years of Venus. Well, Venus rules children, mind, education, investments. It's in the 12th house of losses, expenses, separation. Now, you could argue that there can be some education and some investments abroad because 12th house is foreign lands. But somebody should have told him some 5.5 years ago to wear a 1-carat diamond gemstone to strengthen Venus. Now, my favorite remedy is actually the mystical pendant known as a yantra or kavach, which means protective shield. So I recommend them to all of my clients. It's a sterling silver pendant, a medallion known as a kavach. The mystical pendants are engraved with the mystical numbers of the benefic planets representing the benefic gemstones. So for Michael Phelps, 1 mystical pendant would represent 7 gemstones. It would be like wearing a ruby for his independent entrepreneurial success, a red coral for income and gains and friendships, an emerald for happiness and property and home life, a diamond for the 5th house of children, education, and Venus representing wife. It'd be like wearing a yellow sapphire for this debilitated, badly placed Jupiter, and it would be like wearing a blue sapphire for the weak Saturn. Now, there are sub-periods within main periods. The current sub-period running from July 2013 until the end of March 2015 is Chandra, the moon. So he's running Venus main period and moon sub-period. Venus is in the house of hospitals and prisons and institutional life. He just got checked into a rehab center for a few weeks. So this is a weak, badly placed Venus. That's the main period ruler. Also, it's in the house of addictions. Subperiod is Moon. Moon rules wealth, status, and speech. It also rules what goes into the mouth and what comes out of the mouth, the 2nd house. And Moon is debilitated in the house of conflict, in the 6th house, enemies and disputes, mental tension. So he's had some mental tension, so he's self-medicated. Actually, back in 2009, when he went into Venus, which is in the 12th house of addictions and its pleasures, 2009, there was a photograph of him where he was caught smoking pot, marijuana. So this 20 years of Venus, it's in the house of addictions, and it's weak. And Jupiter ruling wisdom and morality, religion, law, is debilitated and badly placed. So he operates outside the norm of society, makes his own rules and regulations, takes risks and chances, but he gets caught. He was actually driving about 85 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone when he got pulled over this time for drinking, for driving under the influence. But this moon period, not good, badly placed. So now he's going to be in rehab for a few months. Look what happens here at the end of next March and April. He goes into Mars. Oh, he's going to come out roaring. He's going to be very strong again. He's going to want to compete. Even his Rahu period here is fine. It's in the house of gains. It's ruled by Mars. I suspect he's going to come back here like very, very powerful and win some more championships. But he needs to do the remedies for the chart. And we finish by looking at these transits here because we got some issues going on here. We don't have to chase all 9 planets, but I would advise that you watch Jupiter in your chart because it takes 12 months to go through a sign. You watch Rahu and Ketu. They're always opposite each other, but they take 18 months to go through a sign. Anytime Rahu and Ketu stop on a person's rising sign degree, there's trouble. Or if they stop on one of their planets. Rahu and Ketu always travel retrograde. They always go 9 degrees and then they stop at a particular degree for 3 months. And if they happen to stop on your ascendant degree or on top of one of your planets for 3 months, then the first month you say something is wrong, the second month you say something is seriously wrong, and the third month you think you cannot survive. It's very intense. So if that happens to you, just exercise a lot of care and patience for those 3 months. Do the planetary remedies for your chart. So let's slide Rahu over here. He's in Virgo, 25 degrees. Let's slide him over here. So he's sitting right here at 25 degrees. See, transits can be read 3 ways. Transit planets can have an impact on transit planets. Look at these two right here together within 5 degrees, or Sun and Venus are together within 5 degrees. So that's a transit planet having an impact on a transit planet. Now you take this Rahu and put it over here, and it aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So here is a transit Rahu that has an impact on the natal Jupiter. So transit Rahu is aspecting natal Jupiter. So that's the second way. And Jupiter aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So this Jupiter at 22 degrees is aspecting into this house, which is where Rahu is sitting at 25 degrees. So natal Jupiter is afflicting transit Rahu. Transit Rahu is afflicting natal Jupiter. And you can have transit planets having an impact on transit planets. So here's Ketu at 25 degrees. He aspects 5 houses away, 7 and 9 houses away. So as we speak right now, this Ketu at 25 degrees is within 5 degrees of his Jupiter, so that's an impact. Actually, with anybody's Jupiter. This is a transit chart for everybody, not just Michael Phelps. So transit Ketu is afflicting Jupiter, and this is going to happen for all of October and all of November for everybody. So you watch October and November 2014, what you're going to see. Ketu is past life karmas and catastrophes and setbacks and disappointments and explosions. It can be spirituality, yes. But it's going to cause a lot of trouble for Jupiter. And Jupiter is what? Religion, law, morality, education, clergy, bankers, schools, students, husbands, liver and gallbladders and hips. There'll be a lot of trouble for a lot of people for all of October and November 2014. And this Ketu aspects 9 houses away, so it's right now afflicting Mars. And Mars is going to go 22, 23, 24, 25. It's going to come really under the 100% influence of Ketu. I don't like this. When Ketu afflicts Mars, it's always trouble, explosions, military action, wars, terrorists. You go look at the chart for September the 11th, 2001, when they bombed the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon. K2 on Mars. Now the application is that you would say, okay, K2 is afflicting Jupiter, and for Michael Phelps, Jupiter rules relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, so the people are dropping him. The USA Swimming Club dropped him. Some of his sponsors will drop him. And that's for October and November. And K2 is aspecting Mars, and Mars rules Michael's house of friendships and income, so there's going to be some tension there as well. Let's look at Jupiter. Jupiter's currently at 23 degrees. Slide him over here. That's a good position. He's exalted here. He aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So this is good. Jupiter here is aspecting Jupiter here. That's a blessing. That helps. So he says, I need to go find out what's wrong with me. I need to go check into rehab. He did that on his own. And that's probably Jupiter wisdom exalted, aspecting Jupiter debilitated in the house of addictions. Weak morals. And the last is Saturn. Now Saturn rules his 9th house of good fortune, divine grace, gurus, and father. It's currently sitting over here at 27 degrees. So look at this. This is a return. See, it takes Saturn 30 years to go through the horoscope. So this is he's just about to turn 30. Next summer he'll be 30. So this Saturn is right on top of here, and that's fine. These two are friends. These are both Saturn. My concern is that in November, Saturn is going to go here for 3 years. November 2014 to November 2017, Saturn will be in his 6th house. At some point it goes into a 7th house, but short-lived, and it goes retrograde and comes back in here. So basically for the 3 years it'll be here. I suspect that's going to cause some difficulties for his father with his father's health. His father, you watch, those 3 years his father's going to have some health issues. It could cause some disputes with religion and even with gurus. And it may cause some serious issues with his teeth, neck, back, spine, knees, joints, ankles. Now one of the clues is that there are no malefic influences in this sign of Scorpio. So typically when Saturn goes through here, it's a weak position, but it shouldn't be a tragedy. At some point, I think this Saturn here in Scorpio will come under the influence of K2, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, he's going to be going retrograde, he's going to be going direct. So at some point, maybe in a year or even 2 years. So we don't have to worry about it right now. But that Saturn will at some point come under this influence. Now the influence is only for the duration when planets are within 5 degrees of each other. As soon as they separate from 5 degrees, whatever problem was, it's gone. Or whatever reward was there is gone. So just watch for the close conjunctions and aspects within 5 degrees, and that's when you will have an impact. Okay, these are the main points from the chart for Michael Phelps. I would recommend he wears a mystical pendant to strengthen all of his benefic planets. He could also wear a couple of the gemstones we talked about if he wanted to. And there's other remedies he can do also for this chart. I would recommend that he helps afflicted persons and he helps holy persons. That's for Rahu and Ketu. Namaste.